We got a knock at the door. There were some policemen there, and they told us that our daughter McKenna, who was 23 at the time, had been in a severe car accident, and they didn't expect her to make it.
Welcome back to She Speaks Fierce, females inspiring and empowering real change everywhere. I'm Kat, your friend and sister in this journey of inner strength and self-empowerment. For all of our new viewers this week, you can find all of our content linked below the video and on our website at shethinksfierce.com. And if you currently don't receive our free weekly newsletter reminding you about how awesome and powerful you are, please go to the website, click on any Substack newsletter, and click subscribe. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our video content or any of our content with all of the fierce women you know. Today, we're going to hear from one of my favorite women in the world, a spiritual leader and teacher, wife, and mother of 7, and one of my very own sisters, Rebecca Goodwin. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thanks, Kat.
So today we're going to dive right in and we're going to talk about something that's a little bit deeper and maybe a little bit harder subject than what we've been discussing in the past. But it's really essential, I think, for a lot of women around the world right now who have been experiencing something similarly. Can you briefly share with us a little bit about that cold February morning that changed your family forever?
Yeah, it was February 17th, 2021, and it was a snowy day. And we got a knock at the door. There were some policemen there, and they told us that our daughter McKenna, who was 23 at the time, had been in a severe car accident, and they didn't expect her to make it. And they asked us to rush to the hospital. So we did, and it was just a really crazy hard day, like really seriously, like led by angels, and escorted there safely, and got there, and she was still alive. But through, the even with all the doctors and all the things, like she had, just received a lot of, her brain injury was significant, and she just started shutting down later that night. And she was considered brain dead that day, like that night. So we went home late that night, and without her, and it was the hardest thing of my life. We had been surrounded by friends and family who rushed there and were supported by them. When people had decorated our driveway and come in and brought gifts into our home while we were gone, and so that was a beautiful thing. But it was the hardest day of my life.
I mean, just from my perspective, getting the phone call in Portugal at the time was basically one of my biggest fears realized. And she was just, my niece. So, of course, I I have no real understanding about what you experienced, but it was really incredibly difficult for all of us to hear about something so unexpected and so quick to change everything.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
in your experience, how can many find an unwavering strength in their faith, especially during these kinds of trying times? Can you share an instance where you witnessed the Savior's hand in the minutes during or after this journey of grief and recovery?
Oh, there have been so many. To be honest, I could not have gone through this without the Savior's involvement, and without the help of angels on both sides of the veil. We I felt, it's kind of hard to explain unless you've lost someone, but I feel like in those initial few days, like it's kind of like you're wrapped in his arms. Like it's just this comfort, this blanket of comfort. Like it's hard and emotional, but there's also this really beautiful feeling that comes. Um, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but we we saw so many blessings. Like even in the hospital, we I was trying to figure out how are we going to afford all of this? Like whether we didn't know if she was going to make it or not for a little bit. Um, and and I just thought, even if she makes it, like, how are we going to pay for all of these things? And I had this immediate like inspiration, like this thought that I know wasn't my own, that just said, don't worry about that. You just like take care of your family. Like, let me take care of that. And we saw like miracles. Like one of my husband's cousins started a GoFundMe, and it went kind of viral. Like it was like there were people on the other side of the world that we didn't even know that were contributing to this GoFundMe, and it covered all of her hospital expenses and all of her funeral expenses and even some things after that. And that was completely miraculous. But people showed up, and I feel like that's kind of how God works. Like he uses people to be his hands, and so we just felt his love and felt the Savior's love through people showing up and just coming and wrapping their arms around us and crying with us and bringing us food and gifts, and we would get things in the mail from people that live on the other side of the country, and just felt so much love at this time, that was in and of itself super healing and powerful and uplifting for us.
Well, and it was especially difficult from my perspective being in Portugal at the time, since this was what, early 2021. So
Yeah.
COVID still had a pretty hardcore lockdown on a lot of countries, a lot of regulations, and it was still pretty hard to move around. So from my perspective, not really being able to join the family and to come, you know, share my love and be able to help in any way, that felt really vulnerable for me to not be able to do that. So I'm incredibly grateful that so many people were able to come to help, and there were so many angels and so many blessings that were there with you guys the entire time. That was really truly a blessing from my perspective as well.
Yeah, it was a really hard time, of course, but it was also a beautiful time and a special time. And I one of the things that I just kept saying is like, there's so much good in this world. There are so many good people in this world.
Yeah.
And I feel so blessed that I was able to be a part of seeing people reaching out and giving outside of themselves and just being there for us when we were going through this.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that, so as incredibly inspiring as it is to be able to recognize blessings and tender mercies, especially amidst this deep sorrow, is there a moment or an act of kindness, one or two, that kind of stand out that brought unexpected light to your darkest days?
Well, I mean, it's hard to narrow it down, to be honest. There were so many. But like one of the biggest ones I already mentioned, we came home from the hospital that night. I mean, just completely devastated. Um, and we pulled up, and our yard had like luminaries around it, and we had bows and like all these things all over, and came inside, and a couple of my friends like had come into our home. I had left laundry everywhere, we'd left in such a hurry. And it was clean, and there were like snacks and treats on the counters, and there was little baskets for each person with their name on it, and it had little gifts that were just like special and personal to them. And then there were these blankets, and these blankets probably were one of the sweetest things that like were so meaningful to us. They said each of our names, and it said, I will always be with you.
Beautiful.
And um we walked around wrapped in those blankets for days. Like it was just such a comfort for us, and it just kind of felt like a hug from Kenna, like just to feel that blanket wrapped around us. And it was just such a beautiful thing for us. So that's probably one of the most meaningful things that we experienced. But there were so many, and I was blown away by just beautiful things and people just reaching out and sharing love and just telling us how much they loved McKenna and um, some people in her church group that where she was going to church. They just like brought over these posters that all the kids had written things and these filled out these cards just talking about how much they loved her. And I just was blown away by how much of an impact she had made in this. She'd only lived there for a few months, but she had just been out serving. She was just such a loving, giving, beautiful soul. And she just, almost all of them were like, oh, she came and sat by me at church when I didn't know anyone. And she came and brought me a shake when I was on lockdown for COVID and I was all alone in my apartment. And she just stopped by and visited with me in the doorway and just sweet things. So like there were a lot of beautiful things.
Yeah. And everything that she did in life was like that. I mean, I remember just seeing how many people on her Facebook page, or there was a support page that had been created, and how many people posted pictures, and I mean, all of these just beautiful and funny and silly and amazing memories that people were sharing. And it's incredible that, I mean, she was 23, right, when she passed. And
Yeah.
to have been able to have that much impact on so many people at such a young age just really goes to show how special she really is and
Yeah.
was. So throughout this incredibly difficult journey, was there a lesson that you've learned from her passing that has kind of reshaped your perspective towards life and living?
Well, for sure. I think that we tend to take life for granted and we kind of have this, I don't know, this belief inside of us that we're going to live forever or something. I don't know why. It just seems to be kind of human nature, but life is precious, and there have been so many times since her passing where I've had my family, like I've been surrounded by my family. Like I have a daughter that lives a few hours away and another daughter that lives about half an hour away. And so we don't get to be together all the time. But those moments when we do, I just kind of look around and I'm just like, wow, this is magical. Like this is amazing. And I just feel so much gratitude for those moments because you don't know. You don't know what life is going to bring and you don't know how long you have with your loved ones. And I just encourage people to just embrace all the moments and to make it special and to, be happy and love your people and do fun things together and create beautiful memories because they're sacred. Once those people are gone, those are sacred memories. We watch those home videos and look at those pictures and they are just sacred.
And hilarious.
And some of them are really funny. We have some really funny, fun memories, and we'll sit and laugh and cry when we watch them. It's kind of this bittersweet thing where sometimes we just laugh and laugh, and then other times, like we laugh through tears.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that is part of the beauty of loving as well, right? Like there's the bittersweet of the situation in general. But you've told me about how many people have talked to you about your strength, or have mentioned something about how incredibly strong you are to have been able to do what you've done, to keep your family together, to be able to, I mean, even keep your husband from, together, especially in the first few hours and days of this happening. Um, while there's undeniable power and strength, there's also this profound strength and vulnerability. So, how has embracing your vulnerability shaped your journey through this grief and healing?
Well, to be honest, I've already talked about this a little bit, but I did not do this alone. I have to say, like, I definitely was supported by the Savior and by angels on both sides of the veil. And I could not have done what I do without my faith in Christ. And I was strengthened beyond my own ability. And I also feel really strongly that, I do have people that say, "Oh my gosh, you're so strong." And I just always kind of think like, you're strong too. You just haven't had to go through what I've gone through. I feel like when we go through really hard things, that's when we have to really dig deep and find like who we are and what we believe. And those hard things, as hard as they are, they kind of surface this power inside of us that we maybe didn't know that we had.
Sure.
And I feel like everyone has that. Everyone has that power inside of them to be more and to do more and to be stronger and more powerful than you thought you could when you are given the opportunity. And sad to say, like, everyone will have those opportunities in this life. That's part of what this life is about, is that we're going through hard things at times, and it helps to shape us into who we're meant to be.
Absolutely. So, in your experience, balancing mental health and being present in your family can be crucial and yet challenging, especially during an experience like this. I can imagine, and I know we've talked about. Can you describe a moment or some experiences where working on your mental health has made a noticeable difference in how you were able to support your family?
For sure. Honestly, one of the biggest things, and people might think it's kind of silly, but about a year and a half before she passed away, I was challenged by one of my sisters. Like, she wanted me to go on a sugar fast with her. And I am a sugar addict. Like, I always have been. Like, it's bad. But I was like, I can do this. And I think we had committed to, I don't remember, 3 or 6 months, which I think the most I had done before up to that point was like 2 months. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be a little challenge. Anyway, as I kept going, like, I before I got to the end of my goal, I was just like, kind of, I like the way this feels, actually. Like, I think I want to keep going. So I set a goal to go another 3 months, and then another 3 months, until I got into a year. And I was like, well, I'm here at a year. Like, I might as well go a little bit longer. And so I ended up going at that point when McKenna passed away. It had been about a year and a half.
Wow, that's incredible.
And it was incredible. And the things that I have studied and that I've learned about since then is that, like, sugar actually is a big contributor to depression. Like, it really affects our brain and the way that our brain functions. And so it was actually so miraculous that I was not doing sugar at this time. And honestly, there was sugar all over. Like, every space in my whole kitchen was covered in sugar. Like, people brought in, we had so many trays of cinnamon rolls, you guys. I think it's one of my husband's favorite things. And so I don't know if the word got out, but like, there were cinnamon on every surface of my counter, and there were cookies and home baked goods. Like, those are my favorite things. And I remember walking into the kitchen one day, and I just was like, I deserve this. Like, I have gone, I think it's kind of something that we use, at least me, I use food as a source of, like, just comfort
Comfort.
and like that. Um, and kind of self-medicating, if you will, with food, and
Uh-huh.
especially sugar. And so I walked in my kitchen one day and I was like, I deserve this. I've been going through, this is the hardest thing ever, and I deserve this. Like, I deserve to eat a cinnamon roll or whatever. And I could just feel her there. I could feel McKenna there. I, like, had this thought pop into my mind, and she said, Mom, it's not worth it. And I was just like, I remember just crying and be like, but I deserve it. I need this. And I just could feel her like, Mom, it's not worth it. And so I didn't. And I can't tell you the difference that that made in my mental health. Like, I feel like that is one of the main things that helped me so that I could be present with my kids. because I know that how I was before with the sugar, I would have been in bed, curled up in a ball, sleeping, depressed. Like I would have just shut myself off. I just know because that's how I was before. And I was able to be present. And when my kids were going through a hard day, I could just wrap my arms around them and I was there for them. And when my husband was struggling and having bad days, I was there for him. And I would also do other things, that was just a huge thing that I feel like allowed me to be more present. That's the only word I can use, is that I felt like I was more present. But I would go on walks even right after. Within a couple of days, I was going on walks every day. I felt empowered, like I needed to. You need to be outside. You need to be in the sunshine. You need to be in nature. You need to be clearing your head. You need to be getting those endorphins. And those things, like exercising, and I wasn't eating super healthy. I did start that later on, and that really helped too. Like putting in the vitamins and minerals that my body needs made a huge difference. I was, studying the words of God, like studying the scriptures and things, and spent a lot of time praying. So like the whole mind, body, spirit connection, that is real. And those things helped me to move forward one day at a time, because I can tell you there were some days when it was hard to even just get out of bed. It was hard to get out of pajamas and to put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
And I would just kind of force myself. Okay, I'm going on a walk today. I need to go on a walk today. I need to say prayer today. I need to feel God's connection. I need to feel his love, because I don't know how to navigate this on my own. I can't. And all of those things helped me. I wasn't perfect at it. And there were some days when I was a hot mess. I can tell you that. And there's some days I still am, like real, like it's not a perfect thing.
Right.
But without the effort of without the things that I did, I just know it would have been a lot harder. And it's so hard. I know when people lose loved ones, those are the last things you want to do. I think the last thing you want to do is maybe pray, or the last thing you want to do is go on a walk. But those are the things that gave me the strength and the energy and the clarity, the focus that I needed to navigate through the things that we were going through. And so if you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, do it anyway. Get out of bed, put some healthy food, drink a smoothie, put some healthy food in your body, get some sunshine, do some things that are going to be good for your physical and mental health, so that you can move forward and so that you can be a strength and a support to other people who are hurting around you.
Beautiful. And I mean, a really important reminder that if it's important to do this when you're having such a difficult time, that doing this regularly will help you through any of the difficult times.
For sure.
So definitely a really important part of mental health, I think.
I was doing things before, so it wasn't like all of a sudden, so that is really important. I feel like I was walking almost every day, I was doing the things. And so it wasn't hard for me. It would be hard to just jump in, but even if you have, even if you do need to just jump in, it's better to do something, even if it's just walking to the end of the street and back, or something
Sure.
is better than nothing.
Sure. So moving on a little bit more towards what you've done to keep McKenna's spirit alive. Many grieving families find different ways to memorialize their loved ones. And you guys did McKenna's bucket list. Can you tell us a little bit about how that became a source of solace and what exactly it was?
Sure. My son ended up getting her phone because it was a pretty new phone, and it was miraculously okay even after the accident. And he was just going through her phone one day, and he found this list of things that she wanted to do that year. And it was it was cute. It was things like candle making, and she wanted to do this thing called shoot the tube, where you like get on like an air mattress and you go down this big tube that's like not, anyway, it's this crazy thing. But she wanted to race go-karts, and she wanted to go on a trip, like a backpacking trip. There were several things. I think there were at least 20 things that she wanted to do that year. And because, this was February, so she had put all this in her phone, like set the goals for January. And so we decided as a family to honor her by doing her bucket list for her.
I love it.
And we didn't actually get through all of it. It was kind of a crazy year, and we were going, we were mourning, we were going through hard things, but we did do several. I think we did somewhere in the mid-teens of her things. We did quite a few. And we would like record them as a family, and post them on social media and things. And we invited other people in the community. We were like, life is short, do McKenna's bucket list. These are all super fun things that will bring your family closer and be uplifting. And it was such a beautiful thing for us. It really was, because we would do these experiences, and I think we just could feel closer to her and closer as a family. Like, they were fun things. We did an escape room, and it was like a Christmas themed one, but it was like in the middle of the summer or something. Or I think it was in the middle of the summer. So it was kind of this fun little silly thing. And we just laughed a lot. And that was super healing for us. And it was beautiful, and it was powerful. And it was just, I don't know, it was a really healing thing for us.
Well, and those of us in the extended family were able to join in. I know quite a few were able to join in different things, but we did the bake off together when I came into town. That was really fun to
It was
do.
so fun.
And everyone, including the young nephews and nieces, all participated, and we had these groups, and they were judged by the entirety, and it was a really great experience. It was definitely something that brought us together as a big family as well.
True. And they tasted disgusting from what I heard. Like,
They weren't great.
but it was so fun, and they were so creative, and we had a really great time. And it was those things that like brought us together, brought our family together. We did have cousins and friends that would participate in some of them, and there were some beautiful memories that we created just doing her bucket list.
Well, and there was one story in particular that you had mentioned, that offered a like unexpected joy and healing to your family. There was another family who had gone through a similar accident, right?
Yeah, so a couple of months after McKenna's accident, one of my son's friends' families, he had been friends with her for several years. Her brother passed away in a car accident just here in Saratoga Springs, in our little city. And they have 7 kids too. Like, so our family like reached out to their family, and we just kind of bonded with them, and immediately just loved them. I think we just really connected. And so we invited them to do one of her bucket list items with us, and they came over, and her bucket list was to watch a movie in a fort. She was just cute and creative like that, just fun, cute little silly things. And so we made this huge fort around our family room, and it had like, we had all these boxes and all these things, and sheets over it, and it was big enough for all of us. Like, our families just to this little space, and it was actually cute. We put up twinkle lights and all the things, and it was just a super cute thing. And then we watched a movie together, and it was just such a sweet, beautiful, tender memory.
I love it. That's beautiful. So there was one other really incredible direction that you guys took in the memorializing McKenna, about the inception of Lead with Love. What inspired you to start this nonprofit organization, and how has it been instrumental in healing?
So the day before McKenna passed away, through a series of miracles that I won't go into, she called me, and we talked for about an hour. And she just told me about all of her hopes and dreams. She wanted to be an inspirational speaker, like go around empowering people to be their best selves, and to overcome hardships, and to be happy. She was just such a happy, like beautiful light person, and she wanted to share that with people. She loved everybody. She just had so much love. So she wanted to do that, and that was a big thing for her. And the other thing she said was that she wanted to be a part of or even start her own nonprofit. She was a cosmetologist, and she had heard about a nonprofit where cosmetologists would go into third world countries and teach women how to do hair so that they could have a living and that they could empower themselves to rise above their poverty. And
Cool.
so she thought that was so amazing. And she was like, I want to do something like that. Like, I want to help empower women and give women the tools that they need so that they can raise themselves above their poverty. So we talked about it and decided as a family that we wanted to honor her by starting a nonprofit in her name. And and we called it Lead with Love, which was inspired by McKenna. It was something that she had said. Um, and and we just thought it was appropriate. Like, it's about leading with love, to share love with women throughout the world in that are in hard circumstances, to try to help them. And so we did a fundraiser that year. It was a really actually busy, crazy year. All the bucket lists, and then McKenna's Lead with Love stuff. And but I think we needed it, like, to get outside of ourselves. To be honest, that was one of the things that helped us to kind of move forward, is to not just be like inward and just focusing inward on our pain and our sorrow, but to be sharing her light and her love, and getting outside of just ourselves to serve other people and to do other things that are uplifting and inspiring.
Absolutely.
And so I was actually grateful. I know that that was inspired, that God allowed us to have that conversation, to give us something to help us to move forward, and also to honor her, because it was such a tribute to her of who she was. Um, and so we've been able to actually help a few women in Honduras. We've
Amazing.
been pay for some of their education. And we have two girls that are actually finishing cosmetology school in November. And we're super
Yay.
for them, and it's super cute. They're just cute, happy girls, and they're like loving it and doing amazing. So it's been really cool to be a part of being able to help McKenna realize her dreams.
That's really incredible and so inspiring. I mean, I know a lot of people who are here would love to do something like start a nonprofit and help people change their lives. So to be able to do that, I know if McKenna were here, she would be so excited and so proud. And I know that she is. And it's such a beautiful way to keep her spirit alive, because you can just feel her in that. That it's something that she would have absolutely been such a huge part of. That's really so beautiful. So, if you could share, and I know we're kind of wrapping up here, if you could share just a message with someone who may be freshly navigating through the stormy seas of loss and grief, what kind of heartfelt advice or wisdom from your own journey would you pass along to them, and so that they could find inner strength and hope amidst the grief?
Yeah, I think I've mostly shared, but I will kind of just recap. But like, I would first and foremost turn to God, and use the strength and the love of Jesus Christ to heal and strengthen you beyond what you can do on your own. And ask for angels to sustain you and strengthen you, and they will come. You will feel the angels around you. And on both sides of the veil, he can send people to minister to you. And so spiritually, like, turn to God with your whole heart. And then also do some of the work, do whatever you can to work on your mental health so that you can be stronger. And also, like, the third thing I would do is to find ways to celebrate your person that you've lost, to honor them in beautiful ways, and to get outside of yourself if you can and serve someone else, because there is so much healing power in that. And it can be such a beautiful thing. And I feel like when you serve other people in your grief, you feel your loved one near. But also, I just want to remind you that I I've had experiences with McKenna since she passed. She is, her spirit is very much alive on the other side of the veil. You will see your loved ones again. They are not gone forever. And I have had really beautiful sacred experiences that have told me, like, I know I've had experiences that have shown me, and that I know that she's there and that she is happy and she loves our family, and she's very much involved in our lives. She's very much involved in the details, and she loves us and she shows up for us. And your loved ones will too. They are with you. They're not gone forever, and they love you so much. And they can do so much to serve you on the other side that you don't even know. We have no idea. But I promise, she has assured me that we are her number one priority, and that she will be here for us anytime we need her. And I literally ask for that sometimes when I'm having a really hard time and I don't know what to do with, like, to help one of my kids or something. I'll just be like, Heavenly Father, please, can Kenna just come? I need her to go and sit with this person at school that's having a hard time right now. I need her to comfort this child that is going through this depression, please. And I know she comes, because guess what? It's who she is. She would have done it when she was here, and she has even more freedom to move around, to do things over there. You are loved by your loved ones on the other side.
Incredible. Thank you so much for such a powerful message today, and such a beautiful and deep topic. I really appreciate your willingness to share. I know it's such a sensitive thing to talk about, and honestly, we're honored to hear from you today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Pat. I'm happy that I could be here, and I hope that I can bring some peace through this to people who are going through hard things.
I'm absolutely certain that you will be a huge help to a lot. So to my She Thinks Fierce, She Speaks Fierce crowd, ladies, thank you for joining us. I hope you have felt the love for you today. And if you haven't experienced something like this before, may you be as strong as you need to be in any of your trials, and especially when they get so hard that you're not sure you can get through them. We love you. We support you. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great week, and we will see you next time.